Hello, greetings, welcome, whatever. I'm Bully, and I am here. I'm here alone because I did something I'm very proud of, and I have something very important to tell you. And we don't need anyone else here to be unprofessional about it. Um, I wrote a book. Specifically, I wrote a vampire player's guide for Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition, and I want to tell you about it. I want to explain what it is, what you're going to find inside, my thoughts behind some of the decisions I made while making it, and hopefully convince you to check it out. So yeah, let's get right into it. First things first, here's the thing, here's the book. I made it. You can find it at Storyteller's Vault. But let's talk about it first. This is one of the books that was very useful back in the day, in the old editions. I loved the Vampire Player's Guide. Um, it was very different, though, than some of the other books. While there's so much awesome lore in Vampire the Masquerade, a lot of the books are written with the lore in mind. And they're written from sort of different perspectives and a lot of in universe characters and snippets and things that really bring everything to life and really set the mood for the game, which is very cool. Um, but it is not the friendliest or most efficient way to express information, to give info for someone who just needs rules or mechanics or options or character creation things. It can be kind of frustrating going through that. Because of that, I made some updates. I wanted to feel very much like the format and template of the core book, but I did make tweaks now and then that just made sense, so it was less flipping around. So this is designed as just a straightforward resource for character creation specifically. It has over 100 merits, flaws, backgrounds, advantages. I don't know why there's so many names for these things, but really by merits, flaws. That's what I think of them as. There's a bunch more of them. There are 18 new predator types that I've introduced as options as well as a system on how to create your own predator type. And there are 59 disciplines for you to choose from as well. It was a lot, but they're cool. We'll get into that. That's the gist of it. It's just more options for you to make a character. My reason for doing this is because one of my favorite things about the World of Darkness system was character creation. I went from, like many D&D, in the old idea where you pick a class and you follow that linear path of growing your character. Sure, you can multi-class, but again, this just different one-track things. And that's fine, but I loved the openness and the character creation and the skills methodology that World of Darkness uses, that I can truly fine-tune a character to fit what I have envisioned. And a really big part of that was super interesting to me back in the day was all of the merits and flaws. They're all things that are essentially just backstory, just things that you'll build into your character while playing them. But I really like the idea that there's mechanical weight to a lot of your backstory decisions. It's also a good source of inspiration. I think they shifted a little more towards lore sheets in this edition for this, to where you could flip through the lore sheets and kind of get inspiration for a character as well. It's like, oh, this is an interesting tie to have. The only thing with lore sheets is they're very specific to certain settings. Many lore sheets only work if you're playing in this city or you're playing this clan, where merits, flaws, advantages, backgrounds, blah blah blah. Anyone can sort of take them as long as as long as the storyteller says it's cool. So it could be a thing for a new player. That was sort of when it hit me the most. Is I've ran many games and I've helped many people create characters for this game, and every time we hit the advantages and flaws section, I just like the steam sort of goes out, and that used to be like sort of my favorite part of character creation, is going through all these different options and seeing all these cool things and getting new ideas to maybe add to my character or revamp some things, or like, oh, this is perfect, my character does have this personality trait, or they do have this sort of relationship with their sire, or I do want them to have sort of this weird extra supernatural thing about them. they're in there. So it feels good when they match up, and also is great inspiration if for things you might not have even thought of possible for your character. But with this edition, I found there was a lot of it where it sort of boiled down to I see a lot of people kind of picking the same stuff just because there's a few that are clearly just more interesting than the rest, and that's why. So I just wanted lots of them. I just wanted lots and lots of them, um, and so I did. I put lots and lots of them in there, over 100. Enjoy. Specifically, I added a lot of flaws. I love character flaws. They're really fun. I like mechanics behind them. They're really fun from a storyteller side to be able to use them, as well as a player side, knowing when these come up and things to avoid. And they make for interesting role play and interesting mechanics. And I brought back a system, an optional character creation rule where you take more flaws to get more advantages. So you can end up with characters with many points of flaws, but you get a lot of really cool advantages to go with it too. And I like that because, again, the more of those that are included in your character, just the more mechanics and the more ways to make your character unique. Big issue I ran, the more I played Vampire and the more I watched other people's Vampire streams, the more I started seeing mechanically a lot of characters just end up pretty similar, with certain disciplines and certain predator types and background stuff. You run into a lot of things that people do a good job of playing them differently and having different personalities, but on paper, a lot of characters are pretty close, and I don't like that. I want there to be a lot more options in character creation to not only create your unique personality with your vampire, but to have that reflect on paper too. That your kindred is going to be quite a bit different than another kindred, and it's easy to make it so. There's not an obvious like standard way to play this clan or this personality type that are probably just going to take these flaws and these advantages. This gives just way more options, and really, I just wanted pathways. I just wanted pathways, so the more ways to make unique kindred. One thing I wanted to avoid, I explicitly stated in the book, is I started World of Darkness when I was pretty young, specifically with Mage, and I saw many people choose their merits and flaws with no regard for, like, yes, this is my character's story and personality and background, more so of how do I game the system and take flaws that really won't come into play so I could take advantages that I can exploit the mechanics of. That's not the spirit of this. I didn't give more options so people can make better characters or stronger characters. That's not the philosophy 5th edition has, and I'm very glad they don't. I mean, I guess that's still here. If that's your thing, then if you're the type of player I don't like, hey, you can still get this book. It's still going to let you be that type of player. But again, that's not the spirit of merits and flaws. They should be things that actually you shouldn't look for a flaw that won't come into play. Your idea is you look for a flaw that is you're going to feel the impact of and will actually come out in the story. Not, oh, if I take this flaw, it really isn't relevant to my character or the system. And it's really easy to ignore, so it's just free dots for me. Get out of here with that. You're boring. One of my favorite things is the predator types. I love the idea of predator types. I love the flavor with it. It was just something I just wanted more of. I just wanted more predator types, so I created more predator types. And a lot of them I've purposely built to where they give you the merits and flaws that are also included in the book. So you have all these new merits and flaws options, and now you have new predator types that take advantage of some of those options. Also, very much feel free to just swap them out. I already sort of did that as well. If you think you're taking an old predator type, but you think it should give you one of the new merits or flaws in this book, again, ask your storyteller, and if they're cool like me, they'll let you do it. I just saw how predator types were made. Most of it followed a pretty simple system. So I included that system on how to customize a predator type, because maybe you have a really unique way of feeding and it will help your build or whatever. You should be able to sort of make your own too. And there's no reason you can't do that. So I created a simple system on how it seems the book sort of balanced their predator types. I included all the predator roles with the predator types because to me, that design makes more sense than having your predator types and then having your predator roles in the entirely different part of the book. You're welcome. And finally, we have disciplines. We have lots of disciplines. Disciplines were really fun to come up with, but I had a very specific goal in mind, which is not just let's come up with a bunch of powers so people can play vampire supervillains. Which, if you want to do that, again, I always tell them everyone can do whatever they want. That's not my design philosophy for this game or this book. I wanted just different options. So two people with auspex don't more or less have this same things. In the core book and the things that have come out since then, a lot of them sort of seem to offer two-ish paths. A lot of kindred with the same disciplines feel like they just do the same things, which is fine, but it's fun. You want to feel unique. To me, I want to be special. I want my characters to feel special. I want my players to feel like their characters are special. So these are just different ways for not everyone to have carbon copies of each other's disciplines. If you have a coterie and two of you have very similar disciplines, you might feel and play completely differently because you've taken this sort of these different paths with them with different prerequisites. So you're not just you're not just either stealing each other's spotlight or just having the same use. It's nice to have different people that can do the same thing, of course, but again, it's fun having your own role and having unique options. I try to make things that you can actually use regularly, or at least be able to put yourselves in situations where you can use it if it's not something that occurs naturally, and things that just didn't weren't super obvious choices. Because again, I didn't want to create a discipline and everyone's going to be like, well, if you're using this book and this book's allowed in your game, everyone's going to pick this discipline because it's clearly the best. I want different things to be enticing for different styles of play. That's the gist of it, though. I mean, those are the three things that are in there, and those are just the three things I wanted. I'm not trying to redesign or create a book that's like the publishers did this wrong. Let me fix it. I like what the publishers are doing. I want more of it, and I'm impatient, so I'm putting it all out there. But again, it's simple, very easy to reference. It's just boom, here's your marriage flaws. Boom, here's your predator types. Boom, here's your disciplines. Not in that order though, but that's okay. And it's just to pick up play and hopefully make some really interesting, cool characters. That's what I'm trying to do with this. So yeah, if that sounds interesting to you, if you want to discuss it, if you want to give me feedback here, I'd love to hear it. I want to see these things in play. I'm excited to start putting out some chronicles where you'll see a lot of the abilities in this book in play. You'll see it in action. I look forward to that. But yeah, that's what I did, and that's why I did it, and that was my thought process behind it. I don't know what more you want from me, so I'm going to leave you with that. Check it out. It would be much appreciated. This was a labor of love. Again, like this game. I want more of it. I want people to have more fun ways of playing it. So please do. Thanks for checking it out. Bye. Look, none of us like Tremere, right?